Hey, this is the World Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is something that needs to be discussed, that has been undiscussed for a long period of time, and needs to be discussed now, finally, for good, which is the topic of Trump and why he is overrated. Now, as everyone knows, we live in a world that's unfair. We live in a world that's run by more, not necessarily politicians, but big corporations. And a lot of people see Trump as someone who's anti-establishment and so on and so forth, which I can see why so many people support him. But the truth, as usual, like everything in life, tends to not be as glitz and glamorous as people make it out to be. And for this video, I'm going to explain why Trump sucks and why, more specifically, why he's overrated and why he's not as great as people make it out to be. So for the first point I want to make when it comes to this topic, which is going to start right now, is simply down to the fact that Trump claims to be anti-establishment, yet he was born into a rich life. And obviously, if you're born into a rich life, it's hard to relate to the everyday person. And why of all people in the world, would magically Donald Trump, someone who obviously, using common sense, is a rich, powerful person who I'm certain has a bunch of rich friends and rich buddies, somehow managed to become anti-establishment when a lot of his rich friends and rich buddies are part of the exact same problem that of course the people who claim that he's anti-establishment are complaining about. So that's the first reason why Donald Trump is overrated and why he sucks, whatever you like to say. He's definitely not anti-establishment, because if you're someone who's born in a rich and privileged, how can you truly be anti-establishment? Okay, not only are you born into a life of luxury, so it obviously tampers your ability to kind of understand the struggles of everyday people. Science has shown that, like, something, if you're worth if you're a billionaire like he is, at least that's what he claims, something that's like $207 for him is not a lot of money, but for some everyday people, like 99% of us, it's a lot of money, which science has already shown. It's very hard for rich people to relate to people. And if you live a life of privilege anyway, and you have all this sort of stuff, why would you really go out of your way to care about the everyday struggle of the everyday person? So that's the first reason why Trump is overrated and why he's not who he claims to be. He's simply rich, so why would he go against the system, especially if some of his rich buddies are a part of that same system? So that's the first point. The second point, when it comes to why Trump is overrated, is simply down to the fact that obviously when it comes to someone like Donald Trump, why, using of course your head, of course, if anything, why would Donald Trump, if he, someone who is a person who focuses on real estate and all that stuff, somehow magically become good at being a president? And that's kind of the problem a lot of these people don't seem to understand. And for someone whose specialty is business and versus someone whose specialty is politics, how can you really understand how to get stuff done? And that's what people are not willing to understand about him. Okay, people say, well, things were better under him. Yes, but he picked up where Barack Obama left off. Okay, and to really change things and change the world, it's extremely overcomplicated process, to actually do and so on and stuff. It's very complicated. There's a lot of factors that come into play and stuff. And how can you really run a nation and honestly, if that's not your specialty, and run it well, for that matter? And that's kind of the second problem there. If your specialty is not actually politics, how can you do a good job? It's like saying, okay, become a scientist because you want to become one, if you have no real specialty in being a scientist at all. How does that make any sense? Politics is something people study years to do, and not just years, decades of their life to do. There's a lot of tactics, a lot of methods you have to learn, a lot of ways to do it and do it properly. How much do they get done? How much do a lot of them on average get done? Not much. Even the ones who actually care. How's Donald Trump any different? He's not a politician. He doesn't specialize in that industry. So how the hell is he going to do it? That's the second problem with Donald Trump. He doesn't specialize in that particular field. Now, the third reason why Donald Trump is overrated is also simply down to the fact that Donald Trump, last but definitely not least, well, not last but definitely not least, there's actually another point to go alongside this point. But another thing to add to it is just the way he shows himself to the world, okay? If you're someone who actually genuinely is a politician, if you really truly care about a nation and so on and so forth, you would probably have a lot better things to do than spend your time on Twitter all the time. And if you spend your time on Twitter, especially if you're a leader of the most powerful nation on the face of the planet, which literally your decisions can affect in some way, shape, or form everyone else on the face of this world in some way, shape, or form, how the heck, does it look good for someone who's that powerful to act like a freaking teenager who is clearly who's clearly young and, if anything, just straight up uneducated for that matter, not well educated, whatever, you get the point. Like a young person, when you're a leader in the most powerful nation on the face of the planet, it doesn't look good no matter how you look at it. It looks silly and childish. It might be entertaining, but in all honesty, it's silly. You're the most powerful person on the face of the planet. You could literally freaking press the button that could literally end the world if you wanted to. Or if you had to call, oh shit, you might press a button that's gonna affect the whole world in some way, shape, or form, and you, if you probably so decide, can literally decide, to learn things that the vast majority of the population of the world would never learn in the face of the world, in the face of their life, whatever. You get the point, okay? Why the hell, do I want someone that powerful to spend his time on Twitter just commenting and hating on things? Like, when you really look at it and take things in, it's really silly and goofy. So that's the third point. And the last point when it comes to Donald Trump, to put it bluntly, and why he is overrated, simply put it, his whole idea, well, Donald Trump is anti-system and this and that. He's gonna go against the system and this and that. To put it bluntly, and blah 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 blah, all the stuff you hear all the time. The last point of the matter is, when it comes to it, it's kind of similar to the first one, but different, which is that if he truly was actually anti-establishment and stuff like people claim, wouldn't they send someone to kill him? Like, in all honesty, like, the truth about the world is the people who say the realest shit are the ones who are always prosecuted the most harshly, okay? So the truth of the matter is, to put it bluntly, he's control opposition. He's not really legitimate about it. If he was really legitimate about it, the media would hate him and they would have never let him even get to the position in the first place. The American system in general is extremely crooked in the first place, especially when it comes to politics. Anything high-ranking in America is extremely crooked in the first place. Why the heck do you think they're going to somehow let Trump magically, get to a position of extreme power, without him being upon himself too? That's the truth about the world, okay? Look at all the powerful people who said the realest shit, and as a lot of people say, they're anti-Illuminati, because apparently Illuminati were out to get him. In all honesty, to put it bluntly, so if they're anti-Illuminati, and if they're anti-Illuminati, look at what happened to all those people. Martin Luther King, they took him out. Malcolm X, they took him out. A lot of historical figures who seem to go against the so-called system, even John F. Kennedy, they took him out. A lot of other ones, they also took them out. Like John Lennon apparently was against certain particular thing. They took him out. Bob Marley apparently spoke against the powers that be that run the world. They took him out. pretty much everyone who's been alleged to have spoken out against these people in positions of power in some way, whether entertainers or so on and so forth, have been magically taken out. So why would they have not taken out Trump already in some way, or even make his death look like it was by an overdose or something like that? That's why you have to learn in life to have constructive thinking and not believe everything you are told. He's not who he says he is. He's a pawn of the elite. It's just simply controlled opposition. It's not what you think it is. So anyway, this is my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, remember to thumbs this video up and a subscribe button. And this is Off the Sand. Simply put it, later.